Let's talk about how companies find new customers, because the way it's done is changing, and it is changing fast. You might want to forget everything you think you know about sales leads, because we're about to dive into this massive, tech-driven shift in how a business knows you're about to make a big purchase.
You've probably felt this, right? You start casually looking up a new car or maybe mortgage rates, and bam! All of a sudden, your phone is blowing up and your inbox is completely flooded with offers. It's like the entire world knows exactly what you're thinking. So why does it get so noisy, so fast?
Well, it turns out that feeling of being spammed is usually a symptom of a really old, kind of broken system. See, that first form you filled out somewhere online, your info is probably sold, and then resold again. And that creates this crazy frenzy where a dozen different companies are all calling you from the same old list.
So let's really break down this old school model, because understanding the problem is key to seeing why the new way is such a game changer. This traditional strategy, well, it's just not working that well for anyone anymore.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this old system is so flawed. First, you've got recycled leads. That means by the time you call someone, you might be the 5th or even 10th person to do so. Then you have shared lists, which means you and all your competitors are chasing the exact same person. And on top of all that, you have spray and pray advertising. It's like throwing a bucket of money into the wind and just hoping it lands on someone who's actually interested. It's a huge waste for the business, and frankly, it's super annoying for the customer.
But what if you could just cut through all of that noise? This is where things get really interesting. We're talking about a huge shift from chasing down old, stale information to identifying fresh, real-time signals that show someone is actually interested.
The magic phrase here is intent-based behavioral data. Just think of it like the digital breadcrumbs we all leave behind us when we're online. The whole idea isn't to wait for someone to raise their hand and fill out a contact form. No, it's about seeing the signs that they're getting ready to raise their hand, based entirely on their actions.
So what does this actually look like in the real world? Well, it's things you're probably doing right now. It's searching for incentives on a specific car model, or using a payment calculator. It could be researching EV tax credits, or looking up lease versus buy. Even things like visiting a car maker's Build Your Own Car page, or browsing the service section of a dealership for the car you already own. See, these aren't random searches. These are the steps someone takes when they are seriously moving towards making a purchase.
Okay, so we can see these signals. But these are just anonymous clicks happening out there on the internet, right? How in the world does a company turn a Google search into a phone call with a real, live person?
You know, the process is actually pretty straightforward. First, a shopper does something online that creates that signal of intent. Then, powerful AI technology gets to work, matching that anonymous activity to a real-world identity. Step 3, that identity, we're talking a real name, phone number, and email, gets verified to make sure it's accurate. And then, the final step, the business gets that info and can be the very first one to pick up the phone and engage.
So how exactly is that match made? It's not just one thing. Think of it like building a big digital puzzle of a person. The system pulls together basic contact info, sure, but it also layers in all this other stuff: public records, social profiles, even financial signals like credit score ranges. It can even use something called garage intelligence, which is data that suggests what cars a person already owns. All these little pieces are combined to create a really clear, high-confidence profile of a potential customer.
So what does this actually mean for a business? Well, when you can identify a potential customer this early in their journey, you're not just getting a lead, you're getting a massive head start on every single one of your competitors. We're talking a serious first-mover advantage.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? You're in the conversation before they submit a form anywhere else. The whole point is to start talking to the customer while they're still just thinking and researching, before they've officially announced to the world that they're shopping around. You get to be part of their decision-making process, not just another quote they get at the very end. And the results of this targeted approach? Well, they're pretty much exactly what you'd hope for. Businesses see much higher appointment rates because they're talking to people who are actually ready to talk. The conversations are way more qualified, and because you're not wasting money advertising to people who aren't interested, your cost per sale drops and you waste way less ad spend. It's all about being smarter and more efficient.
So it's pretty clear that this is way more than just a slick new sales tool. What we're really seeing is a fundamental change in the entire dynamic between buyers and sellers. It's a shift from being reactive to being proactive.
Let's just put it side by side. The old way is totally passive. You're waiting for a form to be filled out, you're buying old, shared leads, and you're just reacting to whatever the market gives you. The new way is active. You're detecting the signal, you're getting exclusive access to real-time intent, and you are proactively engaging with shoppers before anyone else even knows they exist.
Here's another way to think about it. Look at what you get from different platforms. From Facebook, you get impressions, basically eyeballs. From a site like AutoTrader, you get a shared lead, a name on a list that everyone else has too. But with this new intent data model, the promise is something totally different. You get the actual shopper, the real person behind the screen.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway here. The most valuable thing a company can buy is no longer a list of names and phone numbers. The whole game has shifted. It's now about identifying and buying intent, that proven real-time signal that tells you someone is ready to make a move.
And that really leaves us with a pretty massive question to think about. I mean, this technology is obviously incredibly powerful for businesses. But what does it mean for us as consumers? What does the world actually look like when every company knows the exact moment you're ready to buy something?